Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Firepower Podcast. This is a podcast focused on Firepower, a comic book series by Robert Kirkman, Chris Samney, Matt Wilson, and Russ Wooten. Today, we're going to be talking about Firepower issue number 4. I'm your host, Bash, and I'm joined by my friends and fellow co-hosts Charlie and Ali. How is everybody today?
Yeah, I'm doing pretty good, man. Been pretty busy today. Just finished the second last episode of The Sandman. Been really loving that.
Nice.
So just finishing that up and then just diving into some awesome comics here. So yeah, can't wait.
Hey, I gotta check the Sandman out. It's been waiting for me on Netflix for a while, but I'm doing great too. I'm excited to get into this issue.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
think
you
I
you
saw the
you've read the
first nine
comic, right, Bash?
episodes. It's most of it, yeah. I mean, I stopped a while back because it's one of those books that, like, it's just a lot. There's a lot. Like, you have
Yeah,
to,
it seems like
yeah,
quite the endeavor to get
yeah.
me,
You have
but
to, you
it
have to
but
read a
the
lot. You have to
oh
read
for sure.
a lot of
The
different
shows
things.
really entice me to it though. Like just the concepts and everything. I'm definitely really enjoying it.
Yeah, I mean, it was like growing up. My dad's one of my dad's favorite comic books, so he would talk about it a lot. So I had to read it after a while, and I did see the first nine episodes like a few days ago. I haven't seen the last one yet.
Yeah,
I haven't really gotten around to it. Like, it's pretty good. I think episode 6 is by far the best episode. But they're all
yeah,
good.
6 was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
5 was pretty nuts too.
Yeah, so today's issue of Firepower, last issue we left off where, Owen and Kelly were in much need of a date night. So we're getting that this issue. It seems like, based on the cover and everything, things are going to get a little formal. We're going to go good with the suit and everything. And that's where we start here at the Johnson household, where the kid's asleep. And, you know, um, it just seems like Kelly and Owen are in need of they just have, there's something she can tell that he's thinking about Lin Zhang, so it's problematic, and that's where Owen's like, okay, maybe we need to do something to reconnect.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I remember last issue seeing him kind of like gazing off into that scenery, just like kind of reminiscing about Lingzan. I was curious like if they were kind of open, like if they even kind of if Kelly was even going to be aware about it. But I like how she does know about it right away. She knows like what he's thinking about. And something actually real quick I did want to say, literally the second line here, I loved. I kind of caught this the second time through, like kind of late, little bit later in the issue and last issue, we see how much Doug's been loving training, and he's
Hmm.
just been nonstop, just wants to become like his father. And you see like Owen asks, "Are the kids asleep?" And they say Doug is like in bold, and I just took that as, oh, he's just been training all day, but he's tired. Haley's kind of just been on her iPad, so I really like that.
Yeah, good point, good catch. I found it really relatable when they sit down and they're trying to figure out what to watch, but then Owen says there's no half hours though, and that just kills you sometimes. After a long day, you just want to watch something like kind of low key, low maintenance. It's like 20, 30 minute long show, but all you're stuck with
Yeah.
is like hour long epics like Game of Thrones or some shit. But it happens. It happens. But again, we get to see, the they just sitting and they talk about the butterfly moment when they were sparring in front of the kids in the previous issue, and Kelly caught Owen off guard, and she brings it up to him because to her that's something that almost never happens, and that's how she realizes that yes, he is still thinking about Ling Zhen, that she still occupies his thoughts from time to time.
Yeah,
A
for
recurring
sure.
theme in this
Yeah.
book, it seems.
For
Yeah, we
sure. Keep an eye out for
kind of
And
butterflies.
fading
yeah,
into black away from the panel too. I really like that. Leading into the next panel, it's a really nice transition.
I think,
And
Kasami handles all the darker scenes really well. I don't know why, but I think when there's a
Oh,
dark scene, when you have a scene where a character's face is the focal point in terms of the lighting, I think it allows like a lot of emotions to be just like, you know what I mean, expressed, I guess.
Yeah.
Something to keep in mind while we read the issue. They mentioned the RC Coda too. Is the background of the panels, like these first couple of pages, or few pages, it's black. And we'll get into that later because Chris explains like his methodology of having the background being white or black, and like he has
The
his reasons
border
for
space,
it.
you mean?
Yeah, the
Kind
border
of
space of the panels. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
uh,
that's why it's just for the emotion of lighting.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's what it
The other thing too, this issue is very intimate. There's not too much action especially compared to the last one. And the facial expressions, the way he draws them throughout the issue, really carries and expresses a lot of emotion. Just keep an eye out on that while we go through.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we flashback well, not flashback, we're at the temple right now, and I guess trying to see what happened as a result of Magwan's endeavor to bring back Owen because of Chu Feng and everyone else. It seems like they just didn't succeed, so Chu Feng lets him know that it's been handled. And before that happens, we see that he's pretty harsh on the students. It's not the same as Wei Lun. It's like Waylon, you can tell he trained a lot of training for the sake of training, for the sake of improving, for the sake of like the clan, the temple, for everything, the greater good. But it seems like Chu Feng is just being an asshole. He's just like yelling at people to get back to work. He's really
He
harsh.
was so nice earlier too. Like I was getting good vibes from him. Like he was putting the cold shoulder a little bit, like when they found out his true heritage. But he really took a turn for sure.
Yeah, and that's where I guess the readers get some suspicions because we think there's some motives beyond, like why doesn't he want Owen to come back so bad? Like, they should respect his decision. But here it seems like he told Magwan, like, no, like it's been handled, and he won't even tell Magwan how it's been handled. So you can see that even like the hierarchy in terms of respect, it's beginning to shift because like he won't even tell his underlings, his students, like what the case is. He's just doing things behind their back, whatever needs to be done. And in this case, we'll see that he sent the four assassins, including Jin Kanabo, to interrupt basically the date night of the Johnsons, which we'll see later.
Oh, one thing I did want to ask you guys is I don't even know if this really matters or not, but I noticed Ma Guang, like he has hair, like he grew his hair back like
I
after
was
a
just
long
thinking about
time.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, like is this not a ceremony? I was thinking about, is it like they did the ceremony to burn off the hair, like everyone's bald? Is that like a choice you can make after like 5, 10 years if you've been there for so long, you grow your hair back, or like I don't know. I don't know
In my head canon, I think he just grew hair. At least I can't remember if they explicitly mentioned it, but I think they did. Just because when he goes to America to like talk to Owen, he wants to like fit in more. You know what I mean? Like
That's what I
that.
thought too. He
That
wanted to
yeah,
look more
like normal.
normal.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it
Okay,
seemed like an everyday
I like
person.
that. I like that. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
It's just it still begs the question: why did he not shave it when he goes back to the temple? But
Yeah, he could do it so
hopefully we find out.
fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That's funny. All right, so we're back at the Johnson residence, and we see that again. I just want to reiterate, gorgeous colors by Matt Wilson. We're talking Eisner Award winner here of 2022 for best colors. So it's I think you can see it's pretty evident in all the books that Matt Wilson works on. But I just love Firepower because it's a book that inherently has so much like a very wide color palette. So I feel like it's just a treat for us. We get to get to see this incredible colorist in Matt Wilson basically just flex his colors.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, something I did really notice. This was the only issue. Like I've been to even more comic book stores in the past couple weeks. Issue 4 was the only issue I still cannot find anywhere for some reason. But I'm reading it out of the hardcover, and like it just like the colors just pop so well. It's kind of like I just thought like it's almost like watching like an IMAX movie compared to like a normal movie. Like it's just like a little
Yep.
bigger. It just pops out a little more. And yeah, no, it's really awesome reading through it.
Yeah, I think Owen just told me that he pre-ordered the hardcover, or he like bought the hardcover, so I'm excited for him to dig into it. Yeah, the
Nice.
splash pages are killer. Like I think honestly, with the exception of RC Coda and the little pet peeve of now having like the covers to separate the chapters. I think the hardcover is by far the best way to read the book, just in terms of visuals. Like it's the big ass pages really that you absorb.
We mentioned it too, because certain issues, especially the action-filled ones, are very quick reads. It really lends itself to reading it one after the other. It's very easily bingeable.
Yeah, and they flow very well. Like they transition one to the other.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think here, this, to Charlie's point earlier, we see Owen's kind of perplexed because he opens the room to he opens the door to Doug's room and he sees that the Switch, or what looks like a Nintendo Switch, is on the bed, and that's an unusual sign. Being kind of concerned almost because we're so used to seeing Doug playing.
Kelly did mention anything to keep him off the video games.
Yeah. So Owen's like Dexter Dent here. He's just like committed to the role. He just wants to train. He's just like this kid who has no idea what he's doing, but he's just doing everything he can. Haley, I kind of like Haley's like nonchalant, like no shit's given, just indifference towards all of it. She's such a teenager. Like you could tell beneath the surface she cares. Yeah, on the like on the surface level, she's just like indifferent. She's just like whatever.
Yeah, but like she's not too sassy, like Kirkman was saying, like he didn't want to make her like too stereotypical, but like she still has that edge to her. But something outside, I was looking later in the issue. Do you guys think Doug's got some Jordan 1s of his own? Because the outline kind of looks like
yeah.
It kind of looks like it, but I didn't. Normally they put the swoosh on it, so it really distinguishes it. But I'm not.
I wouldn't put it past him. To be honest.
We know how much Somni hates drawing the Jordans, so he might have just did it begrudgingly.
Especially in those kid sizes, you got to take advantage of those prices. For sure.
Yeah. And so yeah, I mean, we're starting to see the tension really rise between Kelly and Owen because it's just like even when he's leaning into, even when they're talking to each other, it seems like a very functional conversation, more so just to, make sure the family is good rather than their intimate conversation or real, like, caring conversation. It's a very functional conversation just to be like, oh, like, anything to keep him off the video games, school, late skipping day, blah, blah, blah. But then he goes in and he leans to kiss her and she just kind of moves away. And that's kind of cold. And I think credit to Somni here, the facial expressions, just the whole three panel sequence here. It's very well drawn. It's awesome, to be honest. I love even just the immediate reaction from Owen, as in like what just happened, And that's when he realizes he needs to go have a conversation with his stepfather because he needs some fatherly advice. But at the same time, he's clearly something needs to give, something needs to change.
Just an awesome character next. Like I don't know. I think this is we've met him in the past, but I think this is like one of the deepest conversations for sure that they've had. But no, I love this point he has later, and it's a really simple conversation, but he kind of just like he gets to the hard truths and he just asks the honest questions that he needs to hear. And he tries to be like in an unbiased way. He just wants what's best for him, kind of thing.
Honestly, like a World's Finest issue, but it's like World's Finest dads, and it's just like an image crossover between like Henry Burnett and like Bill Johnson, and they're just doing dad shit together.
But Mr. Burnett goes right into it. He's very blunt with how he talks to Nathan. But Owen's dad, he tried to find the most like obscure and confusing way to get to the point. He goes on this whole rant trying to explain like how 3 or 4 or 5 blind people see an elephant until he finally gets to the point. He's like, well, the point is you just need to talk to your wife. And yeah, he could just got straight to the point.
Before that, even like we do have a very, very big moment that I think is a huge revelation. Is that and we, as readers and as the audience of the story, we're all kind of suspicious of this. We're all thinking probably he still does, obviously, but we don't have that confirmation until now where he says, do you still love the other girl? And he says, yeah. Owen says, yeah, he does. But he's like, then his dad asks him, but you love Kelly more. And he's like, of course, she's everything to me. She's the mother of my children, blah, blah, blah. And that's where he explains, like you said, the elephant, everything. But he just says the point is, and I really like that and I agree with it, communication is key. And at the end of the day, all he needs to do, the most important thing is to talk to his wife. And And I think like credit to Kelly for not giving in, because she, the next page she gets home and she's looking for her kids, anybody home, and she captures this really cute moment where from afar, from inside the kitchen, she sees the kids outside with Owen, and they're training and they're working on the martial arts, and that's where he says, "Hey, your mom's home. I'll be right back." And that's where he rushes inside for that, for that moment, into basically it's an opportunity for him to patch things up, or to start to patch things up, and that's what we're gonna get. So Owen's plan to patch things up starts with a reservation at Chez Lionel, which sounds very, very fancy.
I
He's
wonder if that's a
gonna
real place.
break the bank today. I mean, it sounds like something real, but I mean, I don't know. But I know. See, he even says that's crazy. We don't need to be wasting that kind of money, and he's just
Yeah.
like, kind of feels like we do. And then
It
she's
doesn't
like, okay,
doesn't
30
quite
minutes.
sound like an Italian restaurant to me. Sounds like super fancy French restaurant.
Yeah. Oh, I remember this issue now. This is the issue where poor, what's his name, gets traumatized. Yeah.
I
This
think
poor
next
kid.
one next.
Yeah. This poor kid, man. Yeah. This fucking kid.
This kid was absolutely hilarious. I forget. I was trying to remember, but this reminds me exactly of there was a Rick and Morty episode where like Summer's friend, like they invited his friend in, and they like you just know when you invite the friend in, especially like with all this crazy shit that goes on in like these worlds, like some bad shit's gonna go down, and you just pray these kids are gonna be okay. Well,
This poor
which,
kid, he
which
was
we'll see.
like,
Which we'll see.
he's just like this teenage kid trying to like get with this girl he likes, and like maybe get a
Oh,
kiss
he
or
was so
something. Do
weird.
you know what I mean? Like impress her. And at the end of the day, karma bit him in the ass so
He's
bad.
in for one hell of a
Like,
roller coaster.
yeah, he's about to get like legitimate trauma. Like
Yep.
he doesn't know what he's in for. But yeah, I love just Haley's, like, again, I love how she's just so like brilliant. Like she's just so, I don't know. I just love Haley. She's brilliant. She just staged this whole thing, and even the kids, like, what is his name? Is it like Reggie or something? I forgot his name.
Tyler.
Tyler. Or even the
Yeah.
kid Tyler is like, "You sure this is okay? I don't want to get in trouble." And then she's like, "It's fine, Tyler. Just hurry up and get inside before someone sees you." I'm just like, Jesus Christ. And
Okay.
Doug's just like, "You owe me for this." Doug is just like a typical sibling in that moment. He's just like, "Yeah, I'll allow it, but I'm definitely getting something out of it." But as is the case in this book, there's two things that seem to be a burden. Is one is curtains, and the other one is trees. Apparently,
Yep.
we always have key characters and trees talking other people. But in this case, the funniest shit is like, how are all four of them in the tree? Because dude,
Yo, that's
Kanapo is
one
a
hell of a
big
tree, man.
motherfucker. Dude, his stick alone is huge. Like, how is that tree that bending over or some shit? How is it not even like rustling? Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's
This
a
is like,
solid. It's
yeah,
solid. Yeah.
yeah, that's a solid foundation right there.
That's a
That's
that's
just,
a good question.
I don't even understand, but I'm just teasing. I just think
But
that's
we'll,
hilarious.
we'll talk about it later. I absolutely love the origin for that club too. Like
Yeah.
how we got the design for that club.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we get the next scene. We get, we're transitioning to Chez Lionel, or Chez. I don't know how it's pronounced. I'm just gonna say Chez because that sounds right. And it says, Kelly's almost like apologetic, which is weird. She's like, I know you can't control who you think about. I mean, you kind of can, but you can. I guess so. I mean, she's like, I know I meant a lot to you, but I think I totally understand Kelly's position, but it's really well written. It's nuanced because I also understand Owen's position. It's not like him and Ling Zan had any closure of any kind. For all he knows, she was just killed. Like they
She
never
died,
actually
exactly.
split up or anything. They were very
Yeah.
much still in, like they had love for each other. There was passionate feelings, and one day she's just gone. So it's not like he ever, like, he navigated the closure. It's not like he had time to. I mean, he had time to process it, but do you know what I mean? It just hits you like all of a sudden. So I can
Yeah.
understand why Owen always thinks of what if, because even just the life itself, like here you have the life of being like, I mean, they're both exciting in different ways, right? Because here you have this amazing woman, you're married to her, you have very amazing children, you're living a great life. It's very, I guess you could say, basic and safe, but it's a nice life where they live in a nice house. They have, everyone loves each other. It's good life. And here, on
Yeah.
the other hand, you have this almost like fantasy life, and that's probably why he always thinks of it as such, because it really does feel like a fantasy. Like they're in like a different, world almost. He's in this temple fighting for like, world scale kind of stuff, and he's with all these monks and people who are much more down to earth, people who just see the world.
Adrenaline's always pumping. He's always
Yeah,
going.
there's no women, right? There's much less
Yeah.
women at the
Oh
temple
yeah.
than there are men, right? We see a lot of guys. There's not many women,
Ratios
so.
are tough.
Yeah, and it's like everyone's kind of everyone's kind of mean. So him like Ling Zan was one of the first people. He has a soft spot for her because she's one of the first people that was actually nice to him in an unfamiliar setting, a completely foreign setting to him. So I mean, I understand he is in a tough position, but I really admire what Kelly says here and how she tries to understand and she will continue trying to understand. And but she just talked about how, there was a sadness to him when they got together, and she felt like, he was a wounded animal, and that she was attracted to how much he needed her, but now it's like, she's like, she's wondering if he ever got over her. But that's where he explains everything to her, you know what I mean? And I think he does a pretty good job of trying to explain things with her, especially towards the end when he tells her that he thought he loved Ling Zan until he met Kelly, and that's where they seem to have made up. And of course, that's where she finally begrudgingly lets him know that he has sauce on his shirt. So.
Honestly, too, from the sound of this, it looks like they met or they got together very soon or very quickly after he came back
Yeah.
to the States. So everything was to him, to Owen at least, everything was still very raw and fresh in his mind.
Pretty quick, yeah, for sure. But like, especially what we've known them, like they've been through, they've had kids, they've gone through all this stuff. They've like Owen says, they've gone through mortgages together. They've took care of their sick kids. They've done all this stuff together, and we can still tell how much of a genuine bond they still have. And like, I'm not sure. I think I said this in the prelude, but I normally hate like when there's this kind of, I wouldn't say love triangle, but this three kind of thing. And I was worried it was going to get into that, but not spoiling too much. But I love the way like they just deal with the dynamics, because it is really like they both have really real reasons for feeling the way they do. And it's just like, yeah,
It's very
it's a
nuanced.
complicated situation for sure. Like it's,
Yeah, and I've learned to give Kirkman like the benefit of the doubt. He's pretty good at writing these kinds of relationships as we've seen in the past. But
yeah,
yeah, I felt the same way. I was like, I hope they handle this well, and I think they do. And here we get a moment where, after finding out the stain and having this intimate little moment with Kelly, he wants to go and relieve himself of some embarrassment in the men's bathroom by removing the stain. But that's where he gets a chain wrapped around his neck, all of a sudden yanking him out of the restaurant right before he's about to walk into the bathroom from the back door. And he's surprised. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. And that's where we see that the Jinn has attacked him, and he activates the firepower. I love the transition of colors from the page where there's no firepower used to the page where there is firepower. They just go from like subtle blues to light blues to like all these explosives, yellows and oranges, and it's beautiful. Lots of action, very kinetic art style, and yeah, I mean, I think Owen handles this surprisingly well for, getting attacked with a cheap shot, and I like the little details. So like, he just threw a fireball and he's sweating. He's sweating not only from like the exercise, the intensity, but also because they were just throwing fire in close quarters. So I like those little details. But yeah, I also like how intelligent like everything is. He 100% realized that if he was getting attacked in the moment, that means there's a very good chance that Kelly's getting attacked, and that's his first instinct is to run back into Shea Lionel to check on Kelly. And that's where we get a horrifying scene. And man, the first time I read this, like, I remember because this was coming out like, monthly, and this is the very end of the issue where um, Kanabo is holding Kelly by the throat, with the big club in one hand, and he tells, Owen to keep his distance, and the restaurant's just getting wrecked, food everywhere, just a mess. And I was genuinely worried, like, we all know Kirkman. I was like, man, if he kills Kelly in the next issue, I'm gonna be like bummed. You know what I mean? Like that was
Yeah.
I was like
With
genuinely
him, you
concerned.
never know too.
Yeah,
Like that, like that's the shocking thing, especially with these stories too. Like you never know.
that's true. I was really concerned, and I'm not gonna spoil what happens or anything because obviously we're ahead and we're on like 22, 23 right now in real time. But this was scary. This is like starting to pick up. Things are getting exciting. We're getting introduced to a lot of new players here. And it is a little bit frustrating in terms of we are ending on a cliffhanger because everybody wants to see what's going to happen next. But I think that's what Kirkman does well as well. Is he always keeps us wanting more. So I remember being very excited for issue number 5 after this because I knew that whereas, like you said, this issue was slower, more intimate, and was more resolving many of the personal issues that existed within this comic book. The next issue is the opposite, where it's more explosive. We have a lot of action, and it's a lot of just quick, fast-paced action from page to page. So I'm very excited to go into an action-based issue with the new characters. I just noticed that on the reread that we only got Jin and Kanabo in this issue. Like they
Yeah.
show. They show the other two in the tree. They cameo them, but they don't speak or anything yet. And in the next issue, those two are going to speak a lot, especially when they're we'll see that they're being sent to see the Johnson house, which is why they're not there at the restaurant. So yeah, it's even more scary when you get that realization in the next issue. I mean, some of you will be able to deduce that, obviously, but yeah. So yeah, overall, I thought this was a solid issue. I like this issue like more in terms of what it's done. It reminds me kind of Radiant Black number 3, like Writing Day, in the sense that like that issue was in a lot of ways a love letter to writers, and it meant to, make you feel seen in that regard. I feel like this issue is like more an intimate issue focusing on the relationship of the characters. And in the next issue, we're gonna get that explosive action that everybody wants to see. That like, oh my god, what's gonna happen? Can we finally get some like huge fighting? Even though, because like the people who read the prelude, they've seen a lot of action already. But if you haven't read the prelude, you're just like, where is the fighting? It's coming.
It's cool too because compared to his other life in the temple, we've learned a lot about all these people, Ling Zan, Ma Guang, Wei Lun, all these people. We really haven't gotten a lot of information or character progression for like his current family with Kelly and the kids. But here we really get to explore him and Kelly's relationship and how it came to be what it is right now, and why their bond is as strong as it is that it can survive, shit like this, constant attacks.
Yeah. Yeah, and something I always forgot too reading through the series is like they do like that 15-year time jump, like everything you learned before in the like at the temple, like all of that like progresses over 15 years just in the background, and when they kind of slowly reintroduce it piece by piece, and just the way just the way he does it is really awesome, and he always like his time jumps are always awesome. It just makes everything so unpredictable. Like I don't know how to explain it.
It's true,
That's
and it's
Kirkman.
always scary. Yeah, it's always scary
Yeah.
when he does a
Yeah.
time jump. You never know what's gonna happen. You never know what happened during that time jump. You're always like, oh, did someone die? Did this happen? I really like this issue. I thought it was a solid issue. I am looking forward to the next one. And even back in the day, just looking at the cover for the next issue, it's literally the last page where Kanabo, or sorry, yeah, where Kanabo's holding Kelly's throat, and Owen's in the background like, oh shit. So it was scary, you know what I mean? Like you don't know what you're gonna get. So yeah, I did think this was an awesome issue. I know I said that like 3 times now, but this is my fourth, and I am looking forward to the next one. The RC coda in this issue, I mean, the letters section, just go through it, is still fairly early on in the series, so not a lot of questions, a lot of praise, just the common, normal stuff. That's good. RC coda in this issue, we talked about this before we recorded. It felt like he almost rushed, like Chris and Robert just threw something together really fast. At one point, I thought one thing that stood out to me that was really funny is that. You know, Robert says, pretty great. I love the heart to heart with Owen and his dad. This issue is all about martial trouble, of which I don't think either of us truly has any experience. And then Chris says, No, nobody does. I've heard that everyone's marriages are always perfect and that people only get divorced because their kids suck. Divorce being a subject we've been talking a lot on
Yeah.
podcasts the last few days. But
Yeah.
and then Robert says the weird thing is my kids suck, but our marriage is still intact, so I don't know what's going on there. And then Chris says, please don't keep that. It's just he just
Yeah,
kept
that
that
was
in there.
Yeah.
And Robert's just like, no, we're keeping that, and I'm going to read it to your children if you and your wife ever get a divorce. It's just like that. So I love the banter between the two of them. I feel like sometimes it really is just them having a lot of fun in this letter section, RC Coda part of the comic book. But yeah, this one just it didn't really have much in terms of discussing about firepower. They do mention some throwbacks to Chris Samnee's Black Widow work and how some of that informs some of his decisions here, some stuff like that, and yeah, not too much regarding firepower. I did not, nonetheless enjoy it. It's always a treat to dive into the minds of such wonderful creators, and I continue to look forward to more installments of RC Coda. What about you guys?
There was a few things for me I actually did enjoy. Was one that big ass club that's like in the tree that we're always questioning. How he got the design from him just cutting a block of cheese, and I think like he just like miscut it, and his kids were like, oh hey, that looks kind of cool. He's like, okay, I'll make that a weapon. So that was just kind of weird. Again, like after talking with Eduardo on the Radiant Black podcast, like those going back to references, like gotta love. And Chris Omni, we've even seen from these RC codas, he definitely you likes to use them, and they're definitely awesome. And also just some of the talk about always just the facial expressions, and I loved Kirkman's like facial descriptions when writing a script, kind of trying to describe like three or four emotions at the same time and just saying like good luck. But apparently Chris Omni is an expert from of obviously what we've seen, but according to Kirkman too, who's worked with some awesome artists, compared him to Corey Walker too, which I really liked. And yeah, no, there's definitely this was an awesome issue, and some cool things in here. I think actually the last thing was the perfectionism. I loved how like he's such a perfectionist, and we've heard this before, but I think he forgets issues. But I think that's also a factor of him just trying to be better and better all the time for himself. So he kind of just likes to put things out of his mind to focus on the next thing.
Mm. Chris Samnee, the best artist, but one of the worst artists to try to buy art from because that was a horrible
Yeah.
experience when I was on his website trying to buy the
It just
artwork.
sells out really quick,
It just
right?
sells out impossibly fast. Like everybody buys everything within 30 seconds. It's horrible. It's not like it's just like I don't mean horrible in like a bad way. I just mean like it just sucks because like I remember he did it a week apart. The doodles only once this year that I've seen, and it was last week, and I tried both times, and I just couldn't. Like his people were too fast, and I was pretty fast myself, so it was insane. But yeah, his art sells insanely fast. Like it's very hard to get a piece, and I'm hoping one day I'll get a piece by Kusami, one of my favorite artists, but we'll see. It's just with that level of demand, it's very difficult. Yeah, so one thing I will say is I think we're done here for this episode of Firepower for the Firepower stuff. But one thing I will say is Chris Somney and his wife, I believe, Laura Somney, I want to say, yeah, Laura Somney, are both co-writing a book called Jana and the Impossible Monsters. It's a kid's book from Oni Press. It's a really good book. I just bought it because I love Chris Somney. He's genuinely one of my favorite artists ever. So I just wanted to read anything he did, and I picked this up. I thought it was a really fun kids book. It was just surprisingly good. I enjoyed it despite being, something that was clearly targeted towards younger audiences. So for those of you who are looking for something to read, I know I recommended it to Marty, one of our members of the Raining Black podcast Discord, and he loved it. He read it with his kids, and his kids loved it. And even like Chris Somney saw the comment and liked this. I thought that was very funny. But Yeah, check it out if you're a fan of Chris Samnee's work and you wanna read something for younger audiences, or you want something for a family, to read with a family with the kids. I highly recommend that. I loved it. I'm reading it. I'm reading it, and I'm an adult, so I think that speaks to the quality of the book. It's really just a ton of fun. I know that the comic book couples counseling podcast did an amazing interview with Laura and Chris, where they had them on the pod. They talked about Jana and a little bit about Firepower and everything. It was just a delight to hear them chat about it. So check that out. Anyway, thanks everyone for listening. We'll probably have another Firepower episode within the next week or two, and we'll cover issue number 5 and possibly issue number 6 at the same time, depending on whether they flow well together. I think the first arc and the first trade paperback, that might be the best choice. So do the next 2 issues quickly, and yeah, we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.